I'd like to do an exercise now with the second powerful behavior. The second power behavior is called aloofness. Aloofness has two elements. The first element is I don't want to look at you, talk to you, smell you, touch you. I don't want to have anything to do with you. The other element, I'm going to go to a hard, cold place deep inside. I will not let you in here. No one gets in here without my permission, and you do not have my permission. I shut you out. Hard, cold, untouchable. You can't get to me. Very powerful behavior. As we work on power behaviors, we always have to be aware of the element of innocence. Just as with anger, when I brought my levels of intensity down, I bought this feeling of my innocence. I wasn't doing anything wrong, especially when I got down to assertiveness, which is called good behavior. With this powerful behavior, aloofness, it feels innocent from the very beginning because I'm not screaming and yelling at you, not doing anything wrong. Always have to be aware of how I use aloofness and the elements of innocence that are associated with it. Let me give you an example. I come home from work and maybe I've just been bugged by my clients, bugged by my boss, bugged by people who are pushing me around, and I don't like it. I feel vulnerable, and I want to feel me inside of me. I want to be me in control of my sense of me. Now, there's nothing wrong with that, but I come home and somebody's expecting me to be in an intimate relationship with them. So my wife, she greets me with this warm, sweet, "Hi, how's your day?" And I don't want to go there. I don't want to be vulnerable. I don't want to connect. I want me to be in control of my sense of me. And she's greeting me with this warm, kind, sweet greeting. I don't want to respond to it. But if I don't respond, then I'm the bad guy. I'm the jerk. I'm awful. I always have to maintain my innocence. So, using aloofness, I'm going to sigh and roll my eyes a little bit and pause just for a second. Fine, thank you. And she tries again. She wants that close, intimate connection. So she tries again. "Well, tell me about your day, sweetheart." And I don't want to go there. So I'm going to roll my eyes a little more and sigh a little more and pause a little longer. Same old, same old. Now she tried twice to connect with me at an intimate level. I rejected her both times. She's not going to try it again. That hurts. She doesn't like that being rejected, pushed away feeling. Now she's going to approach me, try to push me out of my aloofness, not consciously thinking about what's going on. These are very unconscious reactions, but at a very unconscious level, she's going to now try to push me out of my aloofness with a very powerful behavior, probably anger. Now she's not going to get screamy, yelly, but just a mild level of anger, negotiating level, maybe controlling my temper level, somewhere in there. And she's going to start pushing me. We're going to call it nagging. She's going to nag me. Probably the issue is I never talk to her. And I can feel her pushing me towards the edge, and I don't like that feeling. I want to come back to the center of my balanced place. Now, there's two ways to do that. There's an outward approach. This outward approach, you can see me doing it. You can put a label on what I'm doing and nail me with that label and make me the bad guy. I don't want that. So I might use this inward approach. It's very hard to label it because I'm not actually doing anything. It's all inside of me. Let me go through this outward approach first, this outward way of me increasing my levels of intensity to bring myself back to the center of my balanced place. I'm going to take my phone out and focus on my phone. Put some earbuds in, that works even better. I can just blur her out when I'm focusing on my phone. Use emails and check out YouTube and a few things like that. I can just blur her out really well. or I'm going to turn the TV on and turn the volume up a little bit. And she walks right in front of the TV. Nagging me won't leave me alone. So now I'm going to have to increase my levels of intensity. I'm going to go in the other room, close the door. I can blur her out really well when I close the door and I'm not in the same room with her. But she lives here too, and she follows me in the other room and won't leave me alone. So now I'm going to have to increase my levels of intensity again. I'm going to have to leave the house. Now watch what she can do as I increase my levels of intensity. At the first level of intensity, she can hit me and nag at me and really push me how awful I am. I'm trying to have a conversation with you. Will you please put your phone down? Please talk to me. So I go in the other room. What's the matter? Are you mad at me? I'm just trying to talk to you and you just walked away from me. What's the matter? What did I do? And she can be more intense and make me more the bad guy. So I leave the house. So you leave me here with all the kids and all the problems and all the messes, and you just waltz out of here. You do this all the time. This is wrong. I hate it. And she can be more intense and more powerful and make me the bad guy. So I may want to use an even more powerful approach to get her off my back. The next effective approach that I use to increase the levels of intensity, I'm going to pack my bags and leave for a period of time until she gets the message to get off my back. I will not put up with this. I'm not going to do it. And there again, I'm the bad guy. She nails me with how horrible I am because I left the house, packed my bags, and we have a marital separation. It's all my fault. So I may go to the highest level of intensity to finally win, me in control, and she cannot touch me. It's called divorce. It's called separation. It's called end this relationship. It's extremely powerful. It happens all the time in relationships. And very, very powerful. But there again, she can nail me with how awful and horrible I am. She tells all the neighbors, all of her family, all of my family, the children, everybody else knows I'm the bad guy because I divorced her. Very powerful behavior. So I may want to use an inward approach because it's very hard to nail me with how bad I am when I'm using an inward approach because I'm not actually doing anything. It's all inside of me. Let me illustrate the inward approach. I bring it up to this level of intensity. Probably the most common term, common label that we would use is "you're making me mad." Listen to that dynamic. That is cool. I'm not even doing this. She's doing this to me. I feel innocent, not doing anything wrong. She's doing this to me. It's true. In intimate relationships, we have power to affect the way the other person feels. If I'm going to an independent, balanced place, she can't touch me. That's what I'm doing. I'm going to my independent, balanced place. She can't have any effect on the way that I feel, but it feels like she's doing something to me, and I blame her for it because I'm fighting the intimacy. She's making me mad. If I'm going to go in an intimate direction to try to nurture intimacy in this relationship and I have to control this behavior, it's best that I probably find a different label, not "she's making me mad," but a label that puts the responsibility on my shoulders to recognize I'm doing this. I prefer the label "you're disgusting." It feels exactly the same as "you're making me mad" deep inside of me. But I'm the one who chose to think of her this way, not "she did this to me." It puts it on my shoulders and makes it easier for me to manage the behavior. But if I want something powerful instead of vulnerable and intimate, and I want to go in a power direction, I want something more powerful than "you're making me mad" or "you're disgusting," then I'm going to bring it up to this level of intensity. Most common label, very powerful label, "you're pissing me off." Not only is the language crude, But listen to that same dynamic that we just talked about before. I'm not responsible for it. She's doing this to me. If I want to be able to control this, I better find a better label that's not so crude in its language. I prefer the label, I despise you. It feels exactly the same. Now, if I want the most powerful thing I know of, I'll bring it to this level. And it feels like I hate you. You will have no power to touch me. You cannot affect the way I feel. I block everything. You are nothing because I hate you. You try to sustain hatred for long periods of time, it'll make you sick. It drains your energy. You do not have to be a religious person to feel evil and hatred. But especially in religion, we're taught how evil hatred is. You don't want to feel that evil feeling. You don't want to drain your energy and make you sick. You're going to have to bring your levels of intensity down. So I'm going to bring it down to the lowest level of intensity. I like to call it whatever. Sweetheart, if you want to go to the movie, we'll just go to the movie. You don't need my permission, just go. You want me to go with you? Sure, why not? I'll go. What do I want to see? Doesn't matter to me. Whatever you want is fine. Of course I knew she wanted me to go to the movie with her. I'm not going to reveal that. I may be dying to see that Marvel movie, but I'm not going to let her know that. That makes me vulnerable. I don't let her look inside of me. Don't let her see anything inside of me. That's aloofness. I shut her out. So here I am at the movie theater. I'm not with her. There's no intimate interaction taking place. But look how congenial and how nice I am. You want chicken for dinner? We'll have chicken. You want to go to the movie? Go. I'll even go with you. I'll even let you pick out the movie. I'm not doing anything that she can label or nail me with that says I'm the bad guy. I'm innocent. I can feel the innocence in me. I'm the good guy. But I'm not with her. She tries to hold my hand, she'll get a dead fish. She tries to kiss me, she'll get an obligatory peck. There is no intimacy taking place. There's no warmth, no connection, no tenderness, no intimacy. This is a very, very powerful behavior. If we cannot become conscious of it and manage it, I can be very powerful to push, and I can be very powerful to tear apart the loving, caring feelings in the relationship and feel so completely innocent I didn't do anything wrong. We have to strip away that feeling of innocence. It is not an innocent behavior. It is a very, very powerful behavior. It is not nice. Because I'm not screaming and yelling at you does not mean I'm innocent. This is a powerful behavior. So I'd like to compare anger, aloofness, fighting. Let's say I fight with aloofness and she fights with anger. And she's not consciously thinking about it. You see, anger requires a chemical reaction in your body, just like fire. Fire is a chemical reaction. If you stir the fire, the flames go up and they blaze. When you stop stirring it, they come down and they smolder. Same thing happens with anger. For most people, they can feel that fiery, burning, blazing feeling inside of them for about 10 minutes. 15 if they're good at it. Some people might go maybe 30 minutes. They're really good at anger. But the blaze, the fiery, powerful feeling is going to come down and eventually it's going to smolder. I'm using aloofness. I can use aloofness for long, long periods of time. It doesn't require that chemical reaction in my body. and it makes me feel very powerful for long, long periods of time. That's the advantage of fighting with aloofness, is the length of time. Whereas anger is very short-lived. People who fight with anger want to get it over with right now. They want to work through this problem, get it out on the table, get it fixed right now. But people who are fighting with aloofness, I can go for long, long periods of time and use this aloofness and this coldness. Very, very powerful. Now the dynamic is that she's had these fights with me lots of times. I fight with aloofness and she fights with anger. She may not be consciously thinking about it, but somewhere in the back of her mind she has this timetable. She knows she's just got a little while to be able to push me out of my aloofness and into an anger fight where she likes to fight. Well, I'm not going to succumb to the temptation. Now, how is she going to get me out of the aloofness? The way you do that is you get right up in somebody's face, you cuss and you swear, and you say very, very powerful, very angry, mean things. Now look at the dynamic. She cussed, she swore, she said some very cruel, mean things to me. I didn't do that back. I kept my cool. I'm using aloofness to fight with. Now after about 15 minutes, or maybe if she's really good at it, she might sustain her anger for maybe 30 minutes. But as her anger starts to come down, I take the advantage using my aloofness, and she starts to lose the fight. First of all, she's going to start feeling guilty because she cussed and swore at me. Those guilty feelings are going to prompt her to feel sorry. Now look at the dynamic. She feels bad because she cussed and swore. I'm the innocent victim. Who wins the fight? Aloofness wins the fight. Now, aloofness is not as powerful as anger, because anger can result at the very most intense level called violence. And when somebody's being violent with you, you cannot use aloofness. They will get your attention. They push you, they hit you. That's very, very powerful. I very rarely find my clients having trouble with violence. Once in a while, I'll have couples come in who have some violence issues, but that's rare. Most of the time, couples are fighting with aloofness or very mild or milder levels of anger, maybe very angry, but they're not violent. If they're using aloofness for long, long periods of time, aloofness can trump anger. It can be more powerful than anger because you're not allowed to go to that most powerful level called violence. That makes aloofness more powerful. Now, if you have an anger management problem, if you find yourself flashing with anger and you like that powerful me in control feeling, how do you learn to control it? We become aware of the power of aloofness and the innocence associated with aloofness. Aloofness wins. Anger in our culture is called horrible, awful, despicable. We don't like people who use anger. You're going to feel all these labels labeling you as a horrible, awful person. Aloofness wins. You have to learn to practice aloofness if you want to overcome your anger. Now, please don't hear me suggesting that aloofness is good. It's destructive to the intimacy of the relationship. But if you're trying to overcome a violence issue, where this flashing, powerful, can't control your temper, screaming, yelling, angry kind of a problem, then you have to become aware of the power of aloofness, because it'll take the temptation of anger away from you. And you will feel something more powerful as you become conscious that I don't win right now, I win after a period of time. Because anger can never beat aloofness if you don't use violence. Aloofness is more powerful. I become aware of the greater level of power of aloofness, and the temptation of anger goes away. That's how we manage and control anger. Now, I'm suggesting that if you want to maintain meaningful relationships, then you have to learn to control aloofness too. Because aloofness, if it's abused, is more destructive to more relationships than anger is. Once in a while, I see relationships coming apart because of anger, and violence. But most of the time, relationships come apart because people have learned how to use aloofness for intense levels for long periods of time, and very, very destructive to the relationship. So let's compare a different pattern. Let's say I fight with aloofness and she strikes really hard with anger, then immediately she goes over to a aloofness pattern of fighting. Now we're fighting aloofness to aloofness. Completely different kind of pattern. For most couples, married couples who are close to each other, couples, very intimate couples, aloofness fighting is normally going to go for about 2 or 3 days. After 2 or 3 days, I just can't stand it anymore. I can't keep that hard, cold feeling inside of me. I miss her. I'm in love with her. I like her. She's wonderful. She's sweet and warm and caring and loving, and I just miss her. I don't want to stop fighting, and I want to make up. I want to be close to her. I enjoy her. She's so wonderful. After 2 or 3 days, I'm going to be giving her lots of hints that I want to make up. If she gives me hints that she wants to make up, we're just going to go forward. We're going to be nice to each other. We're going to be sweet and caring and loving. What about that issue that we were fighting about? I don't want that coming anywhere near us. That's what caused the problem in the first place. We don't have the skills to resolve it. All we do is fight about it. So I don't want to talk about it. So those are my words. I don't want to talk about it. Leave it alone. That issue comes back over and over again. Every time we have a fight, that issue is always there because it never gets resolved. What if I have an issue that I am not going to give up on until I get some kind of concession from her? Until she lets me know that she's sorry for this issue and she's going to change. Now, I may have to go for a long, long period of time really putting the pressure of aloofness on her. I am not going to give up after 2 or 3 days. This is really important to me, and she has to change. Now, if she's capable of fighting for long periods of time, we may go for several weeks using aloofness fighting at intense levels. Now we're doing very, very serious damage to the relationship. People do not survive long, long periods of time of aloofness. If you fight with aloofness for long periods of time at intense levels, you cannot feel anything inside of you that feels like I love her or love him. It will feel dead inside of you. All you will be able to feel is that I despise you, or I hate you, or at the very least, you're disgusting. You can't feel I love you. It'll destroy the warmth, the sweetness, the caring, the loving feelings in the relationship when you use aloofness for long periods of time. Be careful with it. Aloofness is a very powerful weapon. Be careful with it. Be aware of what you're doing. Take responsibility for it. If you want intimacy, stop it. Give it up. Become aware of your vulnerability. Become aware of the change. Become aware that you give yourself to somebody else to be loved, to be nurtured, to be cared for. You have to extend trust to that person. Intimacy cannot be achieved without extending trust. My heart opens up. I begin to hear things that I couldn't hear before. They're tender, vulnerable, loving things. And I hear those sweet things that move me with compassion. And I find myself wanting to change because I love that person. Become aware of the difference between aloofness and intimacy. Become aware of the difference between anger